Cairo. We arrived at 1 a.m. Over 1/3 of our people could not get rooms because a plane to Japan did not take off because of problems. We got beds for our group finally at 5 a.m. as they cleaned the rooms from the night before. After a short tour, we flew on Egypt Air to Amman, Jordan. Egyptian planes couldn't land in Israel at that time. And we flew to Amman, Jordan. We then drove on a bus to the Allenby Bridge. It was kind of scary. The men and women were separated into two groups in two separate buildings. An Israeli bus then picked us up in no man's land, and we spent several days in Israel. We then flew to Rome, Italy, spent a half a day in Rome. Can you all hear me? And while visiting I'm not Catholic, but we did visit the Vatican when we were there. And as I was walking down the aisle of the Vatican, guess who I saw? Not the Pope. My mom and dad were walking down the other aisle. I had no idea. They had gone to Kenya, had no idea they were going to be in Rome. And I knew then that I had to always be on my best behavior because I never knew where my parents would show up and check on me. I did not go to Israel again until 1989. Our denomination had the Western Ontario District Conference in Jerusalem. Guess how many people were there? 3 plane loads, 750 people in total. Cost $1,298. The next adventure began in 1994. I had been working with a television ministry in counseling, a television ministry called 100 Huntley Street. They ran out of money. They built a building in Burlington, Ontario, and ran out of money and couldn't pay our salaries and laid off 50% of us in one day, June 30th, 1994. Just before that time, I had heard about Bridges for Peace, and Ruth and I applied to go to Israel and volunteer for almost 3 months. I worked in our food bank, and Ruth worked as a receptionist in the office. She was a nurse, but she took 3 months off, and we had a great time. We worked from Monday till Friday noon. We would rent a car and drive to many parts of Israel. If we saw a road, we would drive till we came to an inn. We covered a big part of Israel driving rental cars down every road we could find. When the 3 months were up, I asked the director if I could work for Bridges for Peace. He told me to draw up a job description and tell him what I could do in Canada. He looked at it, said it was great, go back to Canada and do what you've written on this page. I asked him about the salary. He said, oh, by the way, you must raise your own support.
Oh.
Thus began an adventure that has lasted almost 30 years. I began to do tours. I remember, how many remember Ike Chamish?
Oh, yeah.
We became friends, and he was always calling the pastors to get them to go to Israel. It was only about $600 in those days. Now a pastor's tour costs over $3,000. we're trying to get up our number of trips from 59 to 60. Most were tours, but a few were board meetings, but a total of 60 trips to Israel. How did I get interested in Israel? As a boy, I was raised on a steady diet of prophecy in our churches. I was born in southern Ontario near Windsor. I was born in 1940 and Israel became a nation in 1948. We had many pastors who continually talked about the rebirth of Israel. My father was in the Royal Canadian Air Force, and I often stayed with my grandmother. Guess what her favorite subject was? God looking after Israel. She was kind to the cattle buyers and salesmen who came to the farm and often fed them. Now, when I was born, Israel as a country did not exist. She had existed in antiquity prior to AD 70, but since that time she had been exiled to the four corners of the earth. Our pastors taught us that the day would come when Israel would come back into existence and return to her ancient homeland. How did they know that? They knew that from the prophetic scriptures, such as Amos 9, 14, 15. This is what it says. I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel, and they shall build the waste cities and inhabit them, and drink the wine thereof. And they shall make gardens and eat the fruit of them. And I will plant them upon their land, and they shall no more be pulled up out of their land, which I have given them, saith the Lord thy God. The Jews began to trickle back to the land in the late 1800s and early 1900s. After the Holocaust, the doors swung open and larger numbers began to return. The nation was reborn just over 75 years ago as Prime Minister David Ben-Gurion struck the table with a gavel and declared, "State of Israel has been established. The meeting is adjourned. A nation was born in a day." It says in Isaiah, I'm a preacher, so only thing I know is scripture, so hope you're okay with that. Isaiah 66:8 says, "Can a nation be born in a day?" And it was, right? It was born in a day. And 11 minutes later, President Harry Truman gave Israel spontaneous recognition, even though his advisors told him, don't touch it. But he had been reading the scriptures 5 times before he was 14 years old, and his mother told him to be nice to Israel. And the chief rabbi later told Ben-Gurion, God put you in your mother's womb so you would be the instrument to bring about the rebirth of Israel after 2,000 years. Survival of the Jewish people is a miracle of God. The return of the Jewish people to the land promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is a miracle of God. God is a covenant-keeping God. It says in Joshua 21:45, not one of all the Lord's good promises to Israel failed. Everyone was fulfilled. He made an everlasting covenant to them. He says, I will establish my covenant between me and thy seed after thee, for an everlasting covenant to be a God unto thee. And I will give unto thee and to thy seed after thee for an everlasting possession, and I will be their God. The remarkable victories of Jewish armies against overwhelming odds in 47 48, 56, 67, 73 are miracles of God. The technological marvels of Israeli industry, the military victories, the bounty of their agriculture, the fruits and flowers and abundance of the land are testimonies to God's watchful eye over the nation and the genius of the people. God is guiding them through the labyrinth of our time. They are God's eternal timepiece, and we see his hand in history. Ezekiel 36, verse 24, I will take you from among the heathen, gather you out of all countries, and bring you into your own land. And you shall dwell in the land that I gave to your fathers. And you shall be my people, I will be your God. And the desolate land shall be tilled, whereas it lay desolate in the sight of all that passed by. And they shall say, this land that was desolate has become like the Garden of Eden. And the waste and desolate and ruined cities are become fenced and are inhabited. I've been to Israel 59 times. I've taken way over 2,000 people to Israel and brought them all back in one piece.
Good.
Contrary to what
I said
some
good.
do. Yes, amen. At each site, we have our Bibles open. We have lived in Israel on 3 different occasions. I have worked for Bridges for Peace for the last 29 years. Bridges for Peace is a Christian organization founded in Jerusalem in 76. Our mission statement is Christians supporting Israel and building relationships between Christians and Jews around the world. Our goal is to touch lives with God's love. We put this ministry of reconciliation into practical action through compassion and revelation. We always visit the Bridges for Peace food bank. In 2019, more tourists visited Israel than ever before, 4.5 million. In 2023, as of May 1st, as of May, 1.65 million tourists have arrived in Israel. 2023 is expected slightly under the levels of 2019. Incidentally, they told me that 5 million passengers will pass through Ben Gurion over the holidays that we're in right now. Any of you going to Israel this time of the year? There were 2 exceptional tours that I want to mention. And one of them was with this man right over here, Bernie. I was on a solidarity mission. The war was on with Gaza. It's called Operation Cast Lead. I traveled to Israel with the Winnipeg Jewish Solidarity Mission, August 26 to 2014. There were about 15 Jewish people and 5 Christians on that tour. They were so kind to pay my way. Cost around $4,000, I believe. That was my 49th trip. First thing we did when we get off the plane, we went to the hospital, I forget the name of it, and visited wounded soldiers, lone soldiers. We went to Iron Dome. We went to an Iron Dome installation. We had military briefings and visited with the Canadian ambassador to Israel. Shelley Faintuck, she has a son, Zev. How many know Zev? They call Ruth and I their Zeb's surrogate grandparents, okay? So we kind of took a liking to him when he was about this big. She said, it would not have been the same trip without you. Your insights, your humor, your compassion, and especially your prayers made us feel safe and surrounded by love. Thank you for all you've done for Israel and our people. Bernie, remember going on the highway down beside Gaza? Everyone was a little tense, but they asked me to pray and read scripture, and we had these words were the highlight of the trip. The second exceptional tour was with Rabbi Alan Green. How many know him? Yes. Our mission statement says Christians supporting Israel and building relationships between Christians and Jews in Israel and around the world. In 2018, Rabbi Alan Green approached me saying, I have always wanted to go on a Christian tour. After 23 years, we had built up a good relationship. I took him on the pastor's tour. After the tour, he sent me a message. Congratulations on yet a truly wonderful Israel experience. On that trip, I had 57 participants. They came from Newfoundland to Vancouver. We had 13 denominations plus 2 Jewish people. We had 15 pastors. The ripple effect of that is amazing. Every person you take has influence over a lot of other people, and that is how we built up our work. Many reps and volunteers have come from tours we do. That tour was February 16 to 26, 2020. This was my 56th tour and or visit to Israel. We had 46 participants. You can have a greater understanding of the Bible by visiting Israel. It is the 5th gospel beyond the biblical narrative. Where do you see things going between Christians and Jews in the future? And I say we can repent for 2,000 years of Christian anti-Semitism by showing mercy and love towards Jewish people. Not with words, but with actions. How many ever heard of Mother Teresa? Mother Teresa said, love is not something you say, it's something you do. That describes Bridges for Peace. We don't just talk about it, we do it. And Menno Simons, who was a Mennonite, says this: true evangelical faith cannot lie dormant. It clothes the naked, feeds the hungry, comforts the sorrowful, shelters the destitute. It serves those that harm it. It binds up that which is wounded. It has become all things to all creatures. Here's some scriptures that talk about what the Gentiles should do to the Jewish people. Isaiah 49:22 says, behold, I will lift up my hand to the Gentiles and set up my standard to the people. They shall bring their sons in their arms, and their daughters shall be carried on their shoulders. Isaiah 60 verse 9, the ships of Tarshish will bring thy sons from afar. I know 2 agencies that brought over 100,000 Jews from Ukraine to Israel. And it says, the sons of strangers shall build up thy walls, and strangers shall stand and feed thy flocks. And the sons of an alien shall be thy plowmen and your vine dressers. Christians brought 25 survivors of the St. Louis ship to Ottawa and apologized for Canadian actions in turning the ship away, thus sending hundreds to their death. At that meeting, I made a vow to God based on Ruth chapter 1, verse 16. It says, where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die. That's still with me to this day. When you go to Israel, you're on the stage of biblical drama. 95%. How am I doing on the time there, Faye? Am I okay?
We're okay.
Yeah, not Faye.
Simone.
Alone. Simone.
Yeah?
It's okay. My tongue got over my eye tooth, and I couldn't see what I was saying. So.
And I heard what you were saying. So you're human. Go for it. So you're human. Give it to us. Preach it, brother.
Okay. 95% of the Bible happens on a stage 50 miles wide, 150 miles long. Think of a place 50 miles from here. That would be like Portage La Prairie. And another place 150 miles from here. 95% of the Bible will fit into that area. The few scriptural events that occurred further afield were the early journeys, the Exodus, the captivity, and other journeys of Paul. Where is this tiny area? From Dan at Mount Hermon in the north to Beersheba in the south. From the Mediterranean Sea in the west to just east of the Jordan River is the width. Of course, you and I know that the desert goes further beyond Beersheba down to Elat. But I'm talking about the main part. I began a study of the promises in the Bible. I found that God kept every promise to Israel, even to the minutest detail. Not one of all the Lord's good promises to Israel failed. Every one was fulfilled. The land of Israel, for many Christians, is just that place that the preacher visited last year and took all those lovely slides. Perhaps once in a lifetime, some Christians might venture to the Holy Land if things are peaceful and there's no trouble brewing there. When the average Christian comes to Israel, it is often primarily just to see where Jesus walked. The Bible is like a favorite Broadway play that you often listen to on a tape, but you've never seen it on stage. Once you see it, it becomes three-dimensional and rich with new meaning. A trip to Israel can do the same thing for us as it brings our Bible to life with new revelations. The land which provides the setting of the Bible narrative has become a fifth gospel. The writers of the Gospels don't mention this fifth gospel because they assume that you know as much about it as they did. 2,000 years later, most Christians live thousands of miles from Israel and don't share an understanding of our Jewish roots, the Hebrew language, the culture, the festivals, or the land. Putting the Bible into context helps us understand the presuppositions of writers and fill in many of the missing and often vital details. Around that small compass of land is a tremendous variety. There are 4 seas with different salinity. Here's how I describe them. The red, what did I do? Hit a button, sorry. It's okay, Steve. The red, the med, the dead, and the Sea of Galilee. The 3 continents, Africa, Asia, and Europe. 2 deserts, Sahara and Arabian. The longest scar on the Earth's crust. running right through the middle of the biblical stage, the Syrian-African rift. It would be hard to find another place on the surface of the earth with as much variety in such a small area. Within a short distance, there are different geologies, elevations, climates, as well as different hopes and fears. We spend quite a bit of time in the north around the Sea of Galilee. This area became a setting for much of the ministry of Jesus, and many of his wonderful miracles took place there. 18 of the 33 recorded miracles of Jesus were performed in the immediate neighborhood of the sea. Well, that's all I want to say about Israel, but let me just tell you a few things that we do. We put this ministry of reconciliation into practical action through compassion and revelation. And here's what we do in compassion. Through our Operation Ezra programs, we feed every month in Israel 24,240 needy Israelis each month with food. Over 60 tons of food per month. This is done in over 40 communities through 55 organizations who work with the poor. We assist 400 students in 10 schools. We have about 43 volunteer staff from 12 countries, including Canada, that makes it possible. We have a food bank in Jerusalem processing tons of food every week. The food is headed towards Israel's needy. New immigrants benefit as well as those who have been here for a longer time. Project Rescue. Since the war with Russia and Ukraine, thousands of Jews from Russia and Ukraine have returned to Israel. Many of the neediest Jews in the countries of the former Soviet Union are unable to come to Israel because they cannot afford the cost of passports, exit visas, ground transportation, and lodging for their trip home. We send fishermen who search for hopeless Jews who long to go home to Israel. Without help, they cannot move to Israel. Would anyone like to guess how many Jews we have brought, not me personally, but Bridges for Peace, have brought to Israel in the last 25 years? Yes.
I want to know.
Oh, I'll tell you the exact number. This is the latest. 105,468 Jews. We have another program we call Feed a Child. Thousands of Israeli school children live below the poverty line and cannot afford to buy lunch. Sponsorship for a 1-year commitment will provide the following: a hot lunch every day at school, gifts on their birthday and holidays, help to purchase school books, a backpack filled with supplies, and funds for special needs during the summer. Another program is called an adoption program. Donors can sponsor a Jewish family or individual in Israel for a year, helping them through the critical time in their lives. Incidentally, those people are in a shopping center downtown, and they're from Ukraine. And I'm in behind taking that picture, and they come to get blankets, pots and pans, heaters, umbrella, all kinds of stuff. Because they come with almost nothing. Some of them are from Russia and some of them are from Ukraine. You'll notice there are very few men in there. Where are the men? They're in the war. There's some young boys in there, and that man there is he was one of the MKs, and he's running this program with us now. So I caught on to this in 1994, even before 94, before I went as a volunteer, and Ruth and I adopted a lady named Margarita Temkin. She's from Moscow. She had two little girls. One of them was outgoing, the other was traumatized from all she had been through. And I told her that I would sponsor her for another year. But she said, I got my nurse's training updated and now I have a job at Showers Eddy, so I don't need help. The help we give them is mostly for shorter terms until they get on their feet, because most of them very ambitious. As soon as they learn the language, they're ready to go. Here's another program that we have. Incidentally, several of our grandchildren have gone over there. They followed our example, and some of them worked in home repair. God has given us skilled construction workers. Teams are busy renovating homes of the poor and elderly, some of them Holocaust survivors. Many of these homes are one-room hovels in buildings over 100 years old. We fix leaky plumbing, replace broken windows, paint, plaster, rewire, repair or install cabinets, put on new roofs, and do general fix-up work. Some of our workers have told us this is the best job they've ever had in their lives. They get many hugs, plus a lot of tea, coffee, and cake from very appreciative Jerusalemites. This is all set up through social workers, and we have a great time doing that. And no charge, okay? It's paid for by Christians that stand with Israel. And let me just finish up by saying, what do we do with Revelation? To the church world, we help educate, inform, and motivate Christians concerning the Hebraic roots and biblical context of our faith. We have monthly and bi-monthly publications. This is one of our magazines that comes out every 2 months, although this one is a special edition. And we speak in churches, we interact with colleges, we organize special events and tours. So that's it. Finished. I didn't forget that.
John, will you take a question?
Yes.
Chris has got pictures.
You want to show us the pictures?
What do you want? Questions or pictures first?
Pictures.
Okay. Let me see. We did have another man named John that helped me set this up, so. Oh,
Shut the lights.
shut off the lights.
Yeah.
Okay, that is my wife from my first marriage,
Oh,
59 years ago,
oh. And your present marriage too,
my present marriage.
as well, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Anyone know who that is? That's Rabbi Alan Green
he's riding on a rodeo, I see.
on a camel.
Right.
Oh, it's a camel. Oh.
There he is again. We loved Rabbi Green, got to be wonderful friends with him. I think he's either in town or was recently. That is Becky Brimmer has been for many years the international president and CEO.
That's Tom, isn't it?
That's Tom Brimmer. He grew a beard.
He's Lubavitch now.
He's
Yeah.
he's a tour guide. But they're retiring, and Mr. Peter Fast, who was the Canadian director, went to Israel in January 4th. So that is on the left, or your right, I guess, my grandson, Nicholas.
Oh,
He's in nurses training at Red River College right now.
I see.
Rebecca Brimmer, you saw that picture already. Here's people lined up to get help. They came with nothing. Yad, Lolim, those are Jewish girls that are helping. Very few men in there. This was last October, incidentally. That's our new director. That's the man you'll be seeing now. His name is Gary Sergienko. He's from Russia. You know what that is? Here's some other Filipino couple that went with me. We always go for a boat ride on the Sea of Galilee. That is, on the right is my tour guide, Harrison, and that is a lady from Winnipeg with my wife. Here's a group I had from Mexico a couple of years ago. We were in Bethlehem, and a little kid had a goat, and he was collecting money from all the ladies
Oh,
for holding the goat for a few seconds. San Carlos Community Church in Mexico. Bernie, that group's from Mexico. I get them from all over. United States of America, that's the embassy that Mr. Trump said he would move the embassy back to Jerusalem, and he did. And I think there's 5 or 6 embassies now in Israel, in Jerusalem. Donald J. Trump, President. Mike Pence, Vice President. Dedicated by David Friedman, Ambassador to the State of Israel. That's our food bank. You might notice on the front row
that's
there,
Shelley.
Shelley.
Yeah.
Shelley Paintuck. Boats. That's a Baptist preacher from Peterborough. That is the Colosseum at
Caesarea,
Caesarea.
yeah.
Caesarea.
Oh, this is a picture I love. This girl here, 10 months old, she's not smoking those cigarettes. I carried her all over Israel. She's my granddaughter.
oh.
And her name is Sarah Duncalf, and I carried her then, but I couldn't do it now. She's my dental hygienist, right here in Winnipeg. This is called Nazareth Village in Nazareth. They've got it set up to look like it might have looked 2,000 years ago. That is, I don't know where that is. That is the Church of the Beatitudes.
Where?
In Galilee?
What's that?
Where is it?
It's It's at the very north end of the Sea of Galilee, up on the hill. Here's a group I had. We was a little Jewish lady soldier, and we invited her for supper. There she is. She's from Canada. I forget her name now. It's about a little while ago. This is also Nazareth village that is built to enact what it looked like 2,000 years ago. Hey, Bernie. I'll bet you're in that picture. You see, that is, that's when we were on, that's 2014.
No, I see Jeff Morey on the right,
Yeah, Jeff Morey's in there.
but he wasn't, I wasn't there then.
Shelley's there, Zeb is beside her,
Yeah.
Don James is in there.
Oh.
I think that might be the
Oh,
Canadian
yeah, hold it.
ambassador.
Could that be? I can't recognize myself.
Oh,
I'm not sure, I don't. Oh, well, yeah, that
Are
ambassador.
you in there, Bert?
I don't
Third
know.
one to the right.
Yeah, that could be me, third from the right, yeah.
Yeah, he's in the back.
Yeah,
There you go, you were there, I know you were there.
yeah, okay. Oh, and that was Zeb's girlfriend in the front, yeah.
Yeah, this is an Iron Dome
Oh, that's
installation.
Zeb, yeah.
And in behind is the city, right near the airport. Look at the kids that are running those Iron Domes. It is young people. The man in the uniform was the head man in there. That was, at that time, that was Zeb's girlfriend. There's the boss. There's a wounded soldier. That's not Shelley, it looks like, or is it?
It is
Yeah,
Shelley.
that's
It is Shelley, yes it is. Yes. 50th anniversary, John and Ruth. And Bernie, you talked about 2003 being honored by the J&F. And Mr. Izzy Asper contributed to that. There's a Reverend John Howson computer lab in Ofakim where the young kids can run over there. They can't afford a computer, they play on the computer in there. That's it. Now, where's John? I gotta switch. Got one more thing that's 3 minutes.
Do you mean Dan? Is that who you want?
No,
John.
John Vandermeer.
Oh,
He's probably in the office.
He told me how to do it, but I forget.